Oh my God. It was like, I was so nervous at the start, but it was so fun. Like at the end of it, just the energy and just, there was just a lot of love in that room. It felt like everyone just, it felt like family and friends and just really warm. It was epic.
I'm so glad. Yeah, I saw a lot of videos on social media this morning and I was like, damn, that looks like such a good room. Particularly for like what, a Tuesday night? I was like, hell yeah.
I mean, what else are people doing on a Tuesday?
This is true. This is very true. It kicked off Sloan 2.0 as you wrote on your Instagram. Tell me about this reinvention.
Um, like, it's a reinvention, but to me, it's also a bit of an inclination for me. Like, you know what I mean? Like David Bowie went through like so many different characters and stages of his life. Like as you get older, we change, we grow. We don't be the same person we were 10 years ago. And I mean, I started playing music, and I feel like every year I only find myself more. I feel like this whole journey has been, people kind of ask me as well, like, what advice do you have for people? And I'm like, realistically, I don't have any answers really. I'm like, this is just a journey for for me as much as other people. It's just that it is quite a lot like poppier I used to have in the live show. I don't have that band behind me, but yeah, it still feels natural to me.
Yeah, because this is like really different to Black Zeros, what you're doing now.
I can't believe you even knew that.
Dude, I do my research, just my job.
Doing my job. Very, very different. I mean, like, I was so young then, I feel like, and I did barely could play guitar. Like, I feel like Black Zero is like, and even like it's been that's probably been the biggest learning thing from now Sloan 2.0 is finding my voice. I'm kind of one of those people that when I sing, it's more about the words I'm saying, the emotion I'm putting into the words, opposed to hitting every note or being like completely perfect. Um, but there is a lot more like singing than punk days of Black Zeros.
Yeah, well, I think that also comes in with the trend of authenticity in artists as well. Like, as an audience, I think people are much more drawn to nowadays, like grittiness and like the actual message rather than someone nailing the notes. Like, for me, I personally kind of love it when someone doesn't hit the note. I'm like, they're human.
That's
Isn't that
human.
nice?
That's exactly right. Like exactly right. Like yeah, I think we can get into our heads so much about it, but yeah, that's totally what I'm about.
Yeah, 100%. But in saying that, even in those early days, like when you're an independent artist, you were still like you still had over like 1.8 million streams on your music. How did you market yourself in those early days when you were starting off and still getting like great results?
So I was with um I was with Mirror Music for a little while.
Yeah, that's right.
But they
Yeah.
really did like nurture me and help me and whatnot. Um, I think like I don't know. Like I've just always seemed to be like on my Instagram and focus a lot on my aesthetic. Like I feel like it's being quite consistent with my imagery, and even Warner, they really allow me to still keep that same kind of DIY, and they nurture my visions and my ideas and really help accentuate that. But I think because like I mentioned before, I've never really focused on my voice as much as like the whole package. Like when I would write a song, I would want the imagery. Like I'd be thinking about the colors, the directors I like, the ideas, and trying to encapsulate this vision, opposed to even just the song. Like it was so much more to me. It was a whole like piece for me. And I think people like that in a way. Like they buy into, not buy into it, but they enjoy this story or
But like
like
buying into it's right. Like it's a world. You know what I mean? You're creating a whole world for your Sloan Peterson fans.
yeah, exactly. And I mean, Our Love, which is the one that has like I think a couple of million. I mean, a million listens. It's just so cruisy. Like I think people like that kind of playlist where it can be on and you can kind of just drift away.
Yeah. I agree. And that's like, the rebirth of lo-fi music this year, I think totally plays into that. Um, Yeah. Well, you touched on it before in that you were really young when you got into music. You were like, were you 16 when you moved to Sydney by yourself?
Hmm.
Tell me about
So,
that phase.
um, so I was caught up in quite a bad crowd in Brisbane.
Yeah,
Just
I'm from Brisbane.
like, are you?
Yeah.
Whereabouts?
From Ashgrove the Gap.
Really? What? Okay, I'm from like Toowong, Indooroopilly, like that kind of
Oh,
bit
no
further,
way.
like further than that. But I went to high school at Kenmore High for a little while.
Oh, hell yeah.
But yeah, I just like a lot of my friends lived in like Ascot that way, and like just got into just some really bad things. I was in a lot of trouble and just wasn't going to school. Just I couldn't focus. I just it was bad. But I would come home to my parents, and I didn't want to be like that. Like it was like I'm sometimes so influenced by people. I would just find myself in these circumstances where like my heart was like, you don't want to be here, but I just kept finding myself in this like time and time again. Which maybe it's nice. Like I'm quite trusting, and like my journey, I've experienced so many kind of bizarre things that have happened, because maybe I'm open to like going with the flow and meeting new people and being in these circumstances. But sometimes it's not always the best thing. And so my parents basically they knew that I'd come home and was really just like got like
Lost.
they thought I was gonna die. Like they literally like got like I'd have like black eyes, broken nose, like
Oh,
bad things.
dude.
Um, and so my parents basically sent me down to Sydney to save me, and I moved in with my sister in Cronulla, and that was kind of the beginnings. Like I was working through a lot of emotional baggage. I was so young. I didn't know how like only now am I looking back and I'm going like, how how did I get out of that? Like what happened? Like and now things that happened to me then are kind of resurfacing and I'm starting to go like that's pretty messed up. But music was that one thing that I found at that age where it was therapy. It was my way of, I was seeing a lot of therapists and they just didn't get me. I kept I actually saw this meme that was kind of perfect. It's like my therapist says, no, you're a good person. Me, oh God, I've tricked them too.
Yes.
And that's how I felt like every time I went there, they're like, you're fine. And so I was like, well, like music then became that backup for me. It became that
Mm.
for me to be able to um, navigate really what was happening. Even when I try to kind of give up music, it's like impossible. That like it doesn't leave me. I can't not do that because that's I think how I survive in a way.
Are you really close with your sister?
Oh my God, we're like best friends. I'm like she's moved up. Her and her husband live up in Pottsville now, with their three little boys, and like, oh my God, I miss them so much. She's my best friend.
Damn, that's so nice. You came from a fairly religious background, right? I'm intrigued by your music video for Nightmare, your most recent single, because obviously it takes place in a church. I mean, it is a funeral, but also, is there any sort of imagery there that relates back to that like background of yours? Or is that just
Yeah,
me looking into it too
no, no,
much?
no, 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 definitely. Like, I mean, I don't know if I intentionally, um, yeah, like it's been a real struggle for me. Like, I've always been on the fence with religion myself. My mom is like when we were growing up, she always worked in outreach centers. I grew up in church. That's when I started playing piano. And there are so many amazing things about, I guess, Christianity in particular, like that I like and I admire. Just being wholesome, being a good person. You don't steal, don't lie, don't hurt other people. There's so many bases of that where I would like to live my life and honesty. But then there's so many questions. Like even when I was young, like I had just had millions of questions from my mom, and she'd be like, "I can't answer that. I just." Shh. I'm like the youngest of four, so like it just was I just it didn't make sense to me, just this guy in the sky, and I'm like, what? But I really admire my mum for holding up her faith, and like the rest of like my family, beside like is good people, but they haven't followed as much as what my mum was like. um and I was so nervous about releasing this because of what I felt like my mom, like, I really did put an ode, I guess, to that, but totally unintentional.
Interesting. What did your mum say about the video?
So funny, they didn't actually call me for the release. And I was a little bit hurt because, I've been working so hard for this. And I called her the next day and I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, have I failed you? And she was like, oh, really? No. I dropped a table on my foot and I've been in so much pain. She's like, it was amazing. And I was like, oh. I mean, like, yeah, and my dad was like, I didn't get it. I was like, of course, you're old. No, you wouldn't. I mean, they're proud of me, but like to me, I think they're a fire that keeps me going. Like, to me, I'm like always trying to prove myself to them because I like feel like I messed up so much when I was younger. I'm like always like,
but that's kind of nice.
Proud yet?
Yeah, you're like, I wouldn't be here now without your support and me trying to like prove myself to you. And I think everyone needs that. It's always healthy.
Right. Yeah. Gives you ambition and like drive.
Exactly. What was the last nightmare you had?
I don't know if I can say this. My ex-boyfriend getting a lap dance from two girls that I know, and me being like looking at him and making eye contact, and me being like, literally.
Oh, that's a pretty shit nightmare.
Right? The worst nightmare.
You're like, why are you even still there?
And like the two girls I know, like friends of mine, and I was like, now I feel like I can't look at them the same. I'm like, no, you changed, man.
Have you told them about it? We're like,
no. It's between me and you and the rest of the world, and you write this to me.
Yeah, sounds good. You can just link them the article and you'll be like, so I have something to tell you. You're in my subconscious. Let's talk about your upcoming EP that's out next year. Tell me about that body of work on a whole and creating it. Tell me about the producers you've worked with, the whole process.
Yeah, it was the first time I really did co-writes, so that was a good adjustment.
Who are you in the rooms with?
Andy Hopkins, who's also known as
Houseky. We love Houseky.
He's just amazing. Like somewhere, and like, yeah, he's magic. And we work really well. Got like a similar sense of humor, a bit like dark, and work really quickly, bounce off each other, and like, always just felt really comfortable. So I worked with him. I worked with a guy in LA called Alex Reed. I worked with Liz Drummond. I worked with she was in Little May. I mean, like I was like worked with quite a few people and I'd kind of written like the skeletons of most of the songs. But it's gonna be 7 tracks. I think one of them is a cover though, and so 6 songs basically.
Cover is interesting.
Yeah.
Will there be any sort of? I feel like you'd be the sort of person who'd like put a little bit of French into a song.
Oh, that's coming. But I need to learn how to speak it first. I need to get like, imagine singing a French song, but someone like, and not being able to actually like accentuate the words, and someone French is like, she's just speaking gibberish.
But hey, it's all about that authenticity again. You're like not trying to nail the French, just the vibe of the French.
Exactly.
Maybe that'll be your next boyfriend. Just find like a really cute French boy who can teach you French.
Exactly. That's what I need actually. Know anyone?
No, do you know anyone?
I don't know anyone.
I love that for us. Anything else coming up in your world before I let you go?
So much. I can't even think.
We're all just have to wait and find out.
Exactly.
I love that. Sloan, thank you so much for chatting with me. This has been delightful.
Well, lovely to see you.